What's going on, everybody? This is the Scotty P Breakdown Podcast, and I'm here with Jozef Chen, and I'm here with Owen Jones, two trials winners from the European trials, and I'm super excited to talk to them today. I want to know about y'all's story, y'all's training methods. I've taken two of your classes now, Joseph, and it really is mind blowing, like how much I don't know, and like just the technicality of y'all of where you guys are at. And so, yeah, I just kind of want to learn more about that. And so I'll start with you, Joseph. I know you're half Chinese, half
German, South Africa. Yeah.
German and South African.
Yep.
Okay, that's very cool. And so you grew up in China, and just kind of tell me about like your training and how you came up.
Yeah, so I started training when I just turned 14, and so a year prior, me and my friends, we were pretty into MMA, so we'd be playing like UFC 3 after school and just kind of keep up to date with MMA. And then during the summer, we were like, okay, well, we should do something about this. And so we looked up a local jiu-jitsu school because, like, obviously we'd listen to Joe Rogan and so on and so on. And so we were like, okay, jiu-jitsu seemed like the right move. I didn't really like getting punched in the face, so I was like, yeah, this makes sense. With maybe like the idea of, oh, maybe we can do MMA later. And then, so we looked up our local jiu-jitsu school, and then we went there. And then after that, I was like, okay, I'm like, after a couple classes, I was like, yeah, I like jiu-jitsu definitely way more than MMA. So yeah, that's how I kind of got my start into it. And yeah.
Yeah. And so tell me about like, again, like I kind of mentioned to you earlier, I feel like in just the lexicon of jiu-jitsu, like no one really knew who you were. There was like some whispers of you because you competed at AIGA, and I think maybe Mo put you at like 3 or 4 on his list, and then you were able to beat Taza and Langaker, which were both 1 and 2 as most people's favorites to win that division. So tell me kind of like how you were able to kind of like break through it and win the trials. Like what kind of separated you apart from these guys who have been ADCC contenders or veterans?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think training and study have a lot to do with it, as well as like good coaching. So we went in there with a good game plan and a good idea of how we would look to approach certain competitors. So like previously, I think Taza and Langaker weren't my main focus in regards to like where I put a lot of my preparation. It was actually Mateusz Szczecinski, right? Because he was, out of the 3, I definitely think the most dangerous and most capable of like breaking me. So I definitely spent a lot of my time practicing like against that and dealing with this type of resistance. And so I definitely think that contributed, as well as like having someone I trusted in like the coaching role to have him do a lot of the thinking per se, and just kind of trusting him with how he looks to plan my training. So instead of getting 2 in my head, because that's often when I competed, I'd get 2 in my head and I wouldn't necessarily be able to provide a good assessment of my own capabilities. So whether that would mean like so for example, like in my match with Taza, I was like, beforehand, I was like, okay, I might play around on the feet a little bit, but if I feel like it's a little bit tough, then I might just pull guard. And that kind of like let's say, kind of like decisive, you're not really decisive in that sense. So you're not really willing to commit to so much. So not having that and having someone tell me, okay, you're just going to wrestle, was very helpful.
Man, yeah, I just want to re-emphasize that for everyone at home, but you trusted your coach. Man, that's big. Not a lot of people do that. They want to kind of do their own thing.
I mean, I think it's good to have both, because if you place all of everything you do is based off your coach, you're going to be kind of like capped at what your coach is capable of. I think it's important to kind of engage in your own study, but also have someone there to kind of help you. Because like the person who coached me for the trials, Dima, he's not my technical coach, but it was more like tactics and how I'm going to look to approach these matches. So he wouldn't tell me what to do in terms of technique in regards. He'd give me recommendations, but there was no like exerting control. He's like a purple belt. I think he just got his brown belt. So it's less of that, but more as like an advisor. Because like I do think it's important to, especially, I think the role of any good coach and what any good coach should want is for their students to surpass them.
Right.
And if you don't encourage your students to do research outside of your own teaching, I find that it can be very limiting. So it's a balance between the two. It's like the coach is important, but so is like trying to not only do what your coach does. Because like I think in jiu-jitsu and in many like pursuits, you think like your teacher knows everything. But I think this is often not the case. They'll specialize in certain areas, and a good teacher will make this clear to you. You know, they're like, oh, I don't have a good understanding of certain areas, and so I'm not gonna just give you an answer. I'm gonna try tell you what I think, but I'm also gonna make it clear that I'm not an expert here. Because in jiu-jitsu, there's so many people, like especially at the highest level, they're effective at what they do, but they're not like effective at everything. Like, there's almost no one who's an expert at everything, you know? That's super hard to do.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. One of my so I teach at Underworld Jiu-Jitsu, which is an affiliate of Dark Side. And one of the purple belts from Dark Side, one of my training partners, came up to my school and dropped in and trained with me. And he was able to put one of my students in a buggy choke. And they were all geeking out. They're like, "Oh, I've never been buggied." And I was just like, "Dude, thanks for buggying my guys, because I can't even teach it to you guys. I just don't have the flexibility, or I'm not able to lock it up." But they're my two 15-year-olds, so they're young, they're flexible, they want to try the fancy stuff. So I was like, "Yeah, dude, come by and show them the buggy choke. I'd appreciate that."
That's awesome.
I don't approve of the buggy choke, but, you know, if they want to do it, I'm all for it. But yeah, I just kind of want to make a little pivot here. So Owen Jones on my right here, man, you've been a breakout athlete at the trials, and yeah, kind of just like let the audience know, man, you know, where you're from and kind of how you came to jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, I mean, I'm from London, England, so very, as you could tell with the British accent. Basically, I started training when I was 13. So before that, I was playing rugby, and then basically kind of led on from that. Like, I was playing rugby like at a decent level. I enjoyed it quite a lot, and then I was kind of wanted to do something that would benefit the rugby, but also like take up a lot of my time. So I found jiu-jitsu just like basically just on the way back from school. I just saw it, and I took my sister in first, actually, because she's crazy younger than me, trying to drain some energy out of her. We took her in, and then from then on I started. And after my first session, I was like, damn, this is sick. Just like enjoyed it straight off the bat from there. And then basically just developed from there. Like, I became going from going once a week to then like going every single day, and then just became a habit, and I wanted to train all the time. Then obviously lockdown hit, and then after lockdown it got more serious. I moved academies. I came to the place I train now, which is Apex Jiu-Jitsu, which is in like North London. And then they basically kind of like jumped me to the next level where I could actually start taking it seriously and competing at a high level and actually winning.
Hell yeah. Dude, it seems like a lot of badass athletes come out of rugby. I've never played it, but I know that Volkanovski comes from there. And it seems like every athlete that I try to learn about and they come from rugby, they're like hard nosed and able to put a good pace in the match.
Yeah, I definitely think it develops like the physicality of like any really sport, right? Because you're constantly hitting each other's like an 80-minute match of constant pace. It's not really stop-starty. It's like consistent pace. So it drains your cardio, and also there are big hits like tackling people and quite a lot of contact, obviously, like the rucks and stuff like this. So I think it translated well to jiu-jitsu. Admittedly, the tackling didn't. I got guillotined quite a lot, but we learned.
Hell yeah. And so I heard you say that Apex Jiu-Jitsu was able to take you to the next level. Would you say that there's anything that, you know, you kind of really focused on that was able to take you to that level to where you're actually able to win trials?
So for the actual trials, I think it was just like more developing my own game, like just figuring out because majority of the time I was a gi athlete before, so I was doing loads of gi comps. Then I started training more no gi, and then at the start, like I was decent, I was winning like a lot of rounds, but it was more kind of like I didn't really understand what I was doing. It was just more movement and being like naturally just following what came to me. And I think the biggest difference was changing it to specific no-gi style stuff, right? Which is what helped when I was watching matches other people do. Like Gabriel Souza helped quite a lot, like watching his outside passing and stuff like this, and then kind of trying to make it my own and think about it more technically. Because whereas before I thought the way I think about it wasn't actually mechanically how things should be working. And I think I thought about it more realistically, and then it helped me a lot.
Hell yeah. And you're talking about technicality, running through it.
Jozef Chen helped me. I studied some of Josef's matches before trials, a couple of his details from the guard as well, a couple like stuff like that. I think because I don't watch instructionals a lot, but I find like watching matches and then like taking little bits from matches, I think helps me like improve a lot. Whereas for like other people, improve by watching instructional then trying to apply it. Whereas I feel like I'll get stuck somewhere and I'll try and find the same situation in the match and then see what like obviously the best guys in the world are doing from there. So example, like I was getting stuck in half butterfly a lot when they were like weren't giving me access to the near side arm. So I was like, what should I do? And I watched Joseph doing stuff like far side arm drags, started doing it, and now I'm having loads of success with it. So
Hell yeah. And so are you still training the gi at all? Or you've just exclusively
yes,
gone?
yes, I am.
You're doing
I,
both?
I'm doing pretty much only no gi till ADCC, but I'll come back for the gi season next year. Like hopefully after ADCC, I'll jump back in the gi. I was thinking about doing gi Europeans, but IBJJF won't let me compete at brown belt, so sad times.
Oh, dang. That's funny. Well, man, that's cool that you're doing both. I used to do gi and now I've just funneled down to no gi, but I definitely still appreciate it. It's like, it's fun trapping people long before they even realize it.
Yeah, the good lapel guards. It's good fun.
Yeah,
It's good fun.
yeah. And so, Joseph, man, do you tell me about what it's like living and training in China?
I mean, I'd probably say it's similar to everywhere I've trained, right? In terms of like the jiu-jitsu community. I mean, train this very similar techniques, similar class structure in a lot of these regards. Obviously, different people, obviously different culture, and where like I'd say the gym culture is actually pretty similar. Like it's funny how a lot of like the because it's called Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, a lot of like the Brazilian culture has almost like influenced how people train in Jiu-Jitsu. Not just like the actual training methodologies, but how people interact outside of training, where it's like you hang out on the mat after, talk to your friends, and then maybe get some food after. And so, I mean, I wouldn't say it's too different from here. Like, I'd definitely say the scene is smaller, right? Not the same as like here in Austin, right? I definitely think the level here is much higher, but I definitely think that Jiu-Jitsu, especially back home, has grown a lot since I've started training.
Yeah, and is it called Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu over there? Is it called
Yeah.
Jiu-Jitsu?
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
It's called Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. That's cool. And yeah, so and then tell me so you were on one of the AIGA teams. It was Universal Fighters.
Allion.
Oh, Allion, Team Allion. And yeah, tell me what that experience was like going to Kazakhstan, competing. I can't remember all the matches you had, but you did really well out there. So kind of tell me what that was like.
Yeah, so I had 3 matches. My first match was with Isaac Michel. Second match was with some guy, I believe, from Team Universal Fighters. And then this third match was from a guy from Team Khabib. So like going into it, like I knew Isaac was in the same weight class, so I knew I would have had to fight him at some point. So that was it made me fairly nervous, and because I knew Isaac was very good. But also like the prospect of traveling to Kazakhstan to be able to compete, I thought was very cool, especially with a whole team. Instead of just competing alone, like we had a whole team there. So a lot of people I knew and a lot of my friends, like Kenta included, were there. And so I thought that was pretty awesome experience. So being able to kind of travel to that part of the world for the sole purpose of doing jiu-jitsu and competing, those are a pretty awesome experience.
Yeah, it looked like they took care of you guys. I think I only saw like the Modolfo highlights, but it looked like y'all are just set up and
yeah, I mean, I think
the
the team organized a lot of it. So like my sponsor Allion, so they made a team and then they rented a house for everyone to live in and like organized like a chef for us and so on and so on. So it was great being there. It made it very easy for us.
Awesome. Are you going back for the AIGA or?
No, so because our team didn't make it to the finals, so I believe Team Khabib, I think. Or Team
I'm pretty
Universal
sure it was
Fighters.
Universal that won it.
Universal, yeah, I think it was Universal and Team Adolfo are going to make it to the finals because the top 2 make it to the finals, and then so they'll be doing that in December.
Okay, so it's just those 2 teams are the only 2 that'll be going down. Man, okay, that's gonna be sweet. Yeah, I can't wait for that. And I know you're leaving soon. Are you going to the Singapore trials with some of the other athletes?
Yeah, absolutely.
And are you competing? Are you just checking it out? What you doing?
So I basically booked my flights like with the idea that I would have to do the second trials just in case like I lost, because you're like booking flights earlier generally it's cheaper, right? So I did that, ended up not having to do the trials, so I was quite happy with that, but I was like, okay, I'm still gonna train and do everything that I'd planned on previously. So because I already planned, okay, if I do win it, I'll just go and support everyone, corner, help people train here. So yeah, so that's the idea. I have a lot of friends competing, like obviously Kenta here, Ben Hodges here, and I have other friends like Declan and Kaya who back there, and actually quite a few others who are also going to be there. So doing whatever I can do to help whilst being there.
Man, that's awesome. Yeah, Singapore Trials. That sounds really cool. I've been to Singapore as a kid, so yeah, I always want to go back and like check it out as an adult because you can't really process anything as
Hmm.
a young kid. But uh, as a Marine, I traveled the world as well, and even then, as an 18 and 19-year-old, I still just didn't appreciate it. I just wanted to be back home. So it's very cool that you guys are traveling and checking out different places.
For sure. Yeah, it's awesome that jiu-jitsu can do that.
Okay, so you're doing who's number one? I want to say I saw your match. Who you paired up with so far?
What's Dominic Mejia?
Oh,
Is that how you say his name?
dang, that is going to be a good match.
Mega Mind? Yeah.
wait,
Yeah.
okay. Wait, okay. Did you make that up or has that been going on? Because I never heard that.
I mean, it's there's a cartoon.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Mega Mind. I thought I was the first one, but apparently Dorian called him Mega Mind as well, which is pretty good to hear.
Hey, that's
Somebody else recognizing the big forehead gang. Yeah.
that's funny. Okay, so man, that's gonna be a great match, and I guess that's it's coming up soon, right? November 30th.
Yes,
Here in
end of this
Austin?
month. Yes.
Dude, that's it. I'm gonna be there, so I'm excited to see
Sick.
that.
Yeah, it's gonna
Awesome,
be fun.
awesome. So you're here till then, and then what's after that?
What's after that? I fly to Vegas on the 7th. I'm competing Nogi Worlds at Purple Belt. And then I'll fly back to London on the 10th. And I'm probably gonna take a little break and then start back up in January.
Hell yeah. So yeah, you were saying that IBJJF wouldn't let you compete at brown belt or something?
Yeah, so basically what it was that I wasn't a purple belt for long enough. You have to be a purple belt for 18 months, which I was unaware of. So I was a purple belt for 17 months, coming December 10th, which is the
Dang.
day of the tournament. So I was 1 month short of the being eligible for the brown belt. I sent them an email saying that I've beat multiple black belts, like beat Ash Williams, the best in Europe, beat all the best guys in Europe at my weight, and they were like, still have to do purple belt. And I was like, I guess I'll revoke my brown belt until January 10th. So
Dang.
from now till January, I'm a purple belt.
Man. And yeah, when'd you get promoted to brown?
Just before I left, so it would have been November 4th, 3rd, something like that.
Dang, man, that's trippy. Yeah, no, IBJJF, they don't care about anything.
Yeah, they were like, nah, as long if you win the IBJJF Worlds though, at purple belt, you're allowed to go to brown belt. If you win IBJJF Worlds, then you could get promoted. But like, it doesn't even matter. So even if I got my purple belt the day before IBJJF Worlds, if I won purple belt Worlds, I could get my brown belt the next day. But
Dang, I didn't know that. That's cool.
if not, 18 months is the caveat.
Mm.
They should probably make it a little bit more obvious, but they don't.
Yeah, they should say something. Yeah, IBJJF cracks me up. I tried to compete at one of the opens that was coming by, and I think I wanted to do pans in Dallas. It was something.
And they made you pay like 8,000 fees. You got a register fee, belt fee.
It's exactly what I was gonna say. I had to pay the fee, and then as I was updating my information, like since I competed as a blue belt for IBJJF and hadn't done it since, and I'm a brown belt now. So like I re-registered for everything, and then they marked me as a purple, and I'm like trying to register. I'm like, okay, so then I have to email them, and they're like, oh well, now you have to resend us another signature. So it was one, my coach doesn't pay for the IBJJF thing, so I had to go, bug another coach. And be like,
Oh
"Hey,
yeah.
can you
No, I
hit
know
me
the
up?"
exact.
And it's like on his time, this dude's super busy. And so I finally get him to do it. And then I'm like, okay, finally do it. And then he's like, oh no, you need to send another form that you've been promoted to brown belt. And so I have to go back to the guy and I do that. And then they're like, and now you also need to pay $40 again. And I was just like, fuck. Yeah. And then they're also like, oh, and you also need the pass. So now you have to wait to get the IBJJF pass so that you can actually like show up or whatever.
Damn, didn't even know that.
And
then you got to pay like $160 just to compete.
Yeah. So it's
and if you win, you get nothing.
you
You get nothing. You get a little medal that says IBJJF World Champ, and everyone's gonna forget in about 2 weeks.
Yeah. I mean, as far as like, so I wanted to relate to you earlier too, how you said you watched a lot of matches instead of watching instructionals. I'm the same way. I got a John Danaher instructional somewhere, dude, and it just puts me to sleep. But matches, so that's how my YouTube kind of came about, was breaking down high level matches. I feel like, one, I've been teaching for a very long time. I've been teaching since a white belt. For the Marine Corps, I did combatives, and yeah, one of the things that I noticed is that I could at least speak about the matches. So that's what I started doing. And just watching the matches leveled my game up significantly, because I kind of was really feeling like, man, I'm kind of ending up in the same positions over and over. This is kind of getting boring. I started doing breakdowns of matches, and then there's like a million different things I was working on all of a sudden. So
Yeah, because for me, there's also a few things I feel like also just because someone's good at jiu-jitsu doesn't mean they're a good teacher as well.
Mm.
Because you'll find there are a lot of people. The only exception for me, honestly, is I think that Lachlan Giles is generally one of the only people that I've watched his instructional and I've watched his matches, and I feel like I benefited from both. I feel like a lot of people, when they teach, they don't even teach how they do the move. Like they'll teach you, oh, this is how I do it. Then you'll watch them do it in a match. They've done it completely different to how they tell you they're doing it.
mm-hmm.
And they don't even realize, like a lot of the time, me and Joseph will just be rolling, like we'll both do something, you'd like, what'd you do? And they'd be like, I don't even know. It just happens, right? A lot of it comes naturally. A lot of jiu-jitsu just comes naturally to you. Not everything is super intricate and thought about. So even though someone will do a breakdown on how they do a certain pass, then when I watch them do it in a match, I'm like, but that's actually how you do the pass. But how you're telling me you did the pass over here is not how you actually did the pass.
Mm-hmm.
So I prefer to watch it where it's working rather than taking the chance that they could be a good teacher or couldn't. So
Right. Yeah, you find that, listening to people teach, it's like there's so much more than to what the move itself, or just like how you do a move. Some people want you to do it, exactly their way. Some people leave it really open-ended and, want you to kind of like put your own spin on it. And then even like the idea of why we're doing certain things. Because you'll find that a lot of people are just like, they show you the technique, but they don't really tell you like why it's this way.
I think this is what Joseph is very good at, right? I feel like he's very good at explaining why we're doing it, what it's doing, and then giving you the freedom to try your own stuff. Like he'll go, for example, a certain pass, he'll say, this bit of the pass, you have to do my way because this is the best way to do it. And he says, but the ending part or how you get to this position, you can personalize it and you could be creative with it, because that's the end of the day. Jiu-Jitsu is a creative sport, right? You want to make it your own, you want to be creative. But fundamentally, this part of it is the most like effective way to do it. And I feel like he also explains why he's doing things and why it works, right? Whereas some people will just be like, oh, I clear the hook like this. Whereas he'll go, oh, okay, I'm straightening my leg because it puts pressure on this part and it means he can't lock his lever because of this reason, right? And he'll justify what he's doing, which makes it easier for some people to intake the information. And I feel like an issue some people have is they over-explain it. I don't feel like he talks too much either, which is like a good balance, which is hard to find.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, number one thing I hate is when I want to say I hate it, but it's very annoying when someone uses that time to just like go drone on and on and on or tell stories. It's like,
back when I was 17.
yeah. Or all it is like, oh, I hit this on this person and I did this to this person. It's like, oh, I don't really care, dude. Just show me the move and let me try it. And another pet peeve too is when people ask questions and they haven't even tried the move yet. For me personally, it's like when someone's like, well, what if, or
the what ifs,
what do you do about this? And it's like, dude, try the move.
What if they had a knife?
Yeah. I don't even know how to be nice to it nice about it at this point. Yeah. So Joseph, dude, I heard a story. Someone was saying, I asked him, I was like, dude, do you know anything about like how you came about? And he was saying that he had a conversation with you and that you had mentioned that during COVID, you essentially just watched a bunch of footage and just practiced with your girlfriend over and over again. Is there any truth to that? Or
at the time I actually didn't have a girlfriend, so definitely not. So
sad vibes.
No, so I was actually in a unique position where during COVID, I was able to train every day. So like I was back home and my home had basically established very strict borders. So no one could really come in and out, but that meant COVID really didn't even come in. So for the 3 months that I was in lockdown, or the country was in lockdown, the country itself was fine. So I was able to train every day without going to school and just, do jiu-jitsu. So I was still training every day, but because I didn't have schoolwork, because at the time I was like 15, right? So I didn't really have schoolwork, so I was now then able to like focus completely on doing jiu-jitsu. And that was like the first taste of me actually doing jiu-jitsu full time. So I was able to watch instructionals, train, and that's when I started like training a lot. There were like days I trained 4 times a day just because I was like, I just want to keep training. Because previously I like only maximum I'd ever trained was like once a day. So having that freedom to go about training that way was pretty awesome for me.
Awesome. Okay, so how old are you?
Right now I'm 19.
Holy shit. How old are you?
19.
God damn. Man. That's one.
Yeah, he's like, are you 10 days? What's your birth? 13. So he's like 15 days older than me.
Dang.
So we're like within a month.
And did you guys become friends at trials or?
After, only here. Even at trials, I think I just said, we basically just exchanged on our age, and then we only became friends when he came here. Yeah, I did compliment his passing. I thought it was very good.
Hell yeah. Well, man, you guys both seem, I would not have guessed it, 19. I mean, obviously I knew you guys were young, but y'all, you know, both of y'all have a personality. That's rare to say for most 19-year-olds. You were cracking me up the other day when I came. So, you know, usually it takes time for some humor to pop up in someone's life, but man, you guys are very experienced for y'all's age. Yeah, dude, so I'll ask you, what instructional would you advise if someone asked you like what instructional should I get if they don't have a lot of money and maybe they've never bought an instructional before? What would you tell them would be like a game changer?
Yeah, so it honestly depends on your goals and like what's your like initial skill set. But I gotta just talk about some instructionals that I really like and I think are underrated. So one of my favorite instructionals is Danaher's Go Further Faster, half guard passing, and dynamic pins. I think this is the most underrated instructional because I've never heard anyone talk about it, and it's probably my top 3 favorite instructionals.
Dang.
So like a lot of like my passing has come from there. I probably reckon Gordon's seated guard. That one's not underrated. I think people rate this one fairly appropriately. Like this one was a great instructional for me just because he talked a lot about like his attacks, and for me, especially at the time, my whole game was seated guard, and so it was like very nice for me to have that type of instructional available. And I basically I watched that like 3 times, so like that was probably those two probably 2 of my favorite ones. And then lastly, if I had to give a guess, like probably Craig's power ride. Like definitely, I really it would probably be between that one and Just Stand Up. I like both of them. Probably I'd lean a little bit more towards the power ride just because that one was pretty like it really changed my perspective on a lot of the pinning in jiu-jitsu. Like traditionally you're taught to, okay, you want to progress through a hierarchy of pins from like, let's say you pin them on bottom and then you go to side control and then you go to mount and then you take the back and then these are the positions you want to play. Whereas Craig really talked about like almost the in-between a lot of these positions and more unconventional means of pinning people. Because in wrestling, you don't really see people go into like side control, mount. It's quite different the way people approach that. And so in the context, especially of ADCC, you want to keep someone on their back, right? So using a lot of like wrestling tactics and technique to keep someone down. So probably those 3.
Heck yeah. So you said going farther, faster.
Danaher's Go Further Faster, half guard passing and dynamic pinning.
Right.
Gordon
Ryan's
seated guard.
And then power ride and Just Stand Up from Craig Jones.
Yeah,
sweet.
One of those 2.
I got a wish list. Awesome. Yeah, and then I'll ask you, Jones. I'll just give you the mic. What matches would you recommend people watching it? You know, or your favorite ones that you really felt like, oh, you learned something.
So I mean, like a lot of the times when I watch specific matches to learn specific stuff I want to work on. Right. So a lot of times if I want to work my guard, I'll watch people who are renowned for having good guards. So I watch people like Lachlan Giles. To be honest, a person I've watched quite a lot as well is Diego Pao. I've watched a lot of his stuff. He's got very good, just clean, beautiful jiu-jitsu. A lot of it is just like super smooth, super dynamic. Whereas for like some people don't have as much cleanness to it. Obviously for the outside passing, there's like the Rotolo brothers are very good for that. Gabriel Souza is very good for that. For a lot of my guard recently as well, I've been watching some of Joseph, some of Lachlan's stuff, and then Diego Pao is the main 3 I've been watching for guard, and then on top the Rotolos and Gabriel Souza are my recommendations.
Heck yeah. Yeah. I told a story because I wanted to circle back to the watching the matches. Yeah, when you made the comment about no one cares about IBJJF World, it's so funny. Yeah, in my list of like matches to break down, like IBJJF Worlds doesn't really even make it. Really, it's like who's number one. I'm definitely want to watch that and break that down. ADCCs, you know. The main character Jiu-Jitsu had some good ones. What's the one? Polaris is good.
Polaris.
And so it's like, yeah. If I do go to watch IBJJF World, it's gonna be like maybe the finals of the people that I know.
I think the no-gi one is so like nobody really cares about it, and there's so many caveats to the rule. There's so many rules. There's so many specific things you have to do to get there. You have to make sure you register. You have to make sure you need to let them know who you're a black belt under. You have to do all this stuff. Whereas like ADCC, I literally just signed up. I said I'm 66 and I've got a European citizenship. Like I'm from the UK. Done.
Yeah,
that's it. And it did like there's not this whole long process, like long-winded stuff. And the only thing that really has value now for IBJJF is Black Belt Gi Worlds, which in my opinion is definitely one of the hardest tournaments in the world for sure. But it's so ridiculously hard for what? Like you could go through, have 7 matches versus like 3 unknown Brazilians who are world class and like are going to be super tough matches. You can win and then nobody's going to care. Or you can go to trials and have like a relatively soft run and win ADCC Trials, and now you go into ADCC and you've just gained loads of fame for something that's significantly easier than Gi Worlds, right? Like there are plenty of people who I could tell you've won Gi Worlds and you're going to go like, who the hell is that guy? Like Elijah Dorsey was cleaning up at IBJJF in the Gi. Like I knew of him before he won trials because of obviously he was smoking people in the Gi and he was doing like having really good matches, and all of a sudden he won trials and everyone's like, who the hell is this guy? And I'm like, bro, he's been sick. He's been beating people, but everyone's like, oh, he's come out of nowhere. He's this magical star. Whereas like Elijah Dorsey's been active. He's been in the game. It's not like he's just spawned out of nowhere and just been someone out of nowhere, right? I think it's the same thing for European trials. Like a lot of people said, oh, like, who are you? Like, you came out of nowhere and won. I'm like, the reason people feel like that is because nobody knows about the UK scene, right? Because it's so like solely focused on America, and like they don't even realize the only people they know about is like Tommy and Espen and all these like Norwegian guys who have put a name.
Yeah, unless you're kind of like main card on Polaris, no one's really even gonna.
Yeah, no one's really exactly. Polaris is definitely the only thing that puts us on the map for sure. But shout out Polaris.
Yeah. You guys trying to get on that card? I
mean, I'm on Polaris. I'm signed by them. I'm signed by them. They're my.
Yeah, do you have an awesome match on there somewhere I can go break down or what?
I had a match with Bart Double Down recently, November 4th. That was a good one. I've also had 2 other matches where I just submitted both the guys in like 30 seconds.
Dang, well, I'll go through and break those matches. That'd be dope.
But Polaris are the best super fight show I've been on ever, for sure. Like generally they're like unbelievably professional, especially like the recent one because I was on the main card, and it's like everything's smooth, everything's well run, and it's like they are willing to like almost lose money to get good matches and make it an entertaining show. They don't really care about making money. They're more about spreading jiu-jitsu, which is obviously what we want for the sport and what we need for the sport.
Well, man, that makes a lot of sense because I was wondering how they're making money. I'm like, I mean, obviously they have to be if they're doing so well, but you know, you see the card and you see all the matches that they're bringing out, and I'm like, you know, how is it? Like, what is it that they're doing that they get all these, you know, superstars? Because another thing is like when you talk to people, they all want to get on it. So it's like I wonder, is like, what are they doing?
I think the main things are it does give you a good level of exposure, and also the way they just treat you well. Like obviously Craig's a good example, right? Like he talks shit about Flo and all these people and talks rubbish about other places because they don't treat him well, right? Like whereas Polaris will come, they'll take care of you, which honestly for me is like the main thing, right? Like obviously money's good, but if they're gonna come put you in a rubbish hotel or maybe not even put you in a hotel and like not give you information, and when you ask a question leave you on air and not really communicate with you, you're not gonna want to go back to compete on there. Whereas when they're there and they're showing gratitude to your being there and they're trying to give you, whether it's seminars or they're trying to give you a revenue and they're trying to make you feel welcome, make you feel comfortable, that's when you want to go back, right? Like every time I've went, I'm like, I've enjoyed the experience. So I'm like, I want to go back. I want to go back on it. Craig says the only reason he goes back there is because he must enjoy it, right? He can't, because he definitely doesn't need the money. Right. Like if he needed money, he'd go do a seminar somewhere and make probably twice as much, right?
Right. No, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, that's I would definitely agree with you on that. Most of the promotions are not really that nice. I've definitely competed for a couple of them, and I'm just like, dude, I'm never gonna compete for them again. It's like, because you know, they try to make it seem like we need them, but the reality is they need us. And so, yeah, when they make a card and they're like just telling you how it should be, and then oh, you got to be here, you got to be here, you got to be here, and do that and do this, and you're not gonna make any money. And it's just like, well, dude, I'm killing myself to be here. Like, I can at least get I appreciate you or something, So that's cool. It's cool to hear that about Polaris because from afar, I've never been. I've done some of the breakdowns on their matches, and I'm just like, man, how do they get all these people here? But that makes a lot of sense that they actually treat you guys really nice. That's cool.
Yeah, and also like I hit one like crazy flying triangle where I almost killed myself. Like I landed right on top of my head,
Oh,
and then I got a repost with Polaris, and I think like then after that I got like a follow from UFC Fight Pass. He got like 200,000 views. I got like 10K likes, and I gained like 2,000 followers. I was like, sick. This is
yeah.
what I want.
Yeah, sweet. Well, did you? So I'm guessing you got it, but
Oh
it's
yeah,
just
I got
like
the triangle.
intense.
Yeah, but it looked fucking sick. But everyone's like, oh, your head must hurt. But it looked
Hell yeah,
good.
sweet. Yeah, my big ass ain't doing no jumping triangles. So I asked you about your favorite instructionals or the ones that you recommend for people. Maybe one, you're 19, so I try to refrain from asking like, what would you tell a young competitor? Because I always feel like, man, this guy. I'm 32, so I still have dreams, But obviously the youth is going to be able to relate to you. Like like I said, I'm a head coach at Underworld Jiu-Jitsu, and I have two 15-year-olds, and they got the whole world in front of them. They want to do MMA. One of them wants to do MMA. The other one definitely wants to do competitive jiu-jitsu. And so, yeah, what would be your piece of advice? Because to them, you're like, the superstar. So what would you tell them as to like maybe one thing that they could focus on that would definitely help them?
Yeah, so I'd probably say like I do think you want to have like the long term in mind because I feel like you see a lot of young kids burn themselves out sometimes. And so I think that's something to be cautious of. But in terms of in general, I think it's like try to make sure you still enjoy training. Obviously, there are going to be days that are tough, and sometimes those are necessary, but you don't want to put yourself in a situation where like I've like especially when I'm training here sometimes like I'll be doing 3 a days, and if I'm training hard and I'm not really doing anything outside of it, sometimes it'll get to me where I feel a little bit more burnt out. So being wary of this, and that doesn't mean like taking like days off training, but it's kind of like where are you occupying your mind? Because sometimes if you take training too seriously all the time, you kind of lose the love for it. And I think that's kind of what'll really keep you going. There are a lot of things like you can push hard and really get a lot of things done, but I think it's like you want to be here for a long time, right? You don't want to have to just like burn super bright and then completely burn out. I feel like, at least for me, jiu-jitsu is something I love. It's not something I just want to get good at and then like that's it and then I won't do jiu-jitsu. I want to do it for like the rest of my life. So it's important for me that, especially as like for us, like we're professional competitors, when it's something like it's your livelihood, it can often like running a gym, I'm sure you can relate. Sometimes it gets a little bit more stressful. It's hard to really enjoy the jiu-jitsu. So just keeping that in mind and not necessarily putting too much pressure on yourself all the time. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes you're about to compete. You really need to like double down. You need to really focus. But then that's not all the time. So like for right now, I'm kind of in an off season where I'm playing around with new technique. I'm really enjoying jiu-jitsu. I'm not worried about, okay, I need to win every round. I'm just kind of playing with things, kind of seeing what I like to do, and just kind of enjoying training as much as I can, enjoying the experience, enjoying the people around me, and so on. So yeah.
100%, dude. Man, it's so funny. I was just listening to Joe Rogan and The Rock, and they had a whole thing on enthusiasm and how much it changes the environment, and how like even if you don't have it in the moment, just trying to force it, it changes everyone around you. Like when you're enthusiastic about what it is that you're doing. They even mentioned like how like a real skill is to do something you don't want to do, but to do it with enthusiasm. And I mean, that's essentially what you're saying, right? Is like, if you don't love to train and you're not enthusiastic about it, it's going to be a chore and you're not going to do it to the best of your ability.
Yeah, I mean, I just realizing how like just being able to train and being around all these people that I like, I feel very happy with it. I don't feel like I need any more than that. Like, I definitely think, I don't know. Sometimes if you look too far ahead, like, it's like, I need to win this. I need to be better than this guy. It's a tall task. And when it fails, you can get demotivated. Like, for me, at least, like, a lot of my motivation to train just comes from, I want to get better. And then as a byproduct of that, I'll win certain things. But it's not like, okay, my goal is to win this. If I don't win it, I'm going to be distraught, right? It's like, okay, I'm just trying to get better and hopefully I can win this. But I think, yeah, I read a book recently and it talked about like the difference between dreams and goals. And like goals are something that's in your control. So like a goal would be, okay, I want to train X amount of times this week, or I want to work on this technique these days, this on other days. Whereas dreams are something that aren't necessarily in your control. Dreams are something to work towards, but you can't let them affect the way you look at yourself and the way you feel as much. Obviously, I'm not saying like don't be sad about certain things, but you kind of have to take it for what it is. It's not always in your control. Sometimes just on the day, like someone's better than you. And I've lost plenty of times, but I understand that this isn't my identity. Like I'm not attached to winning, right? It's just worrying about getting better, having better jiu-jitsu, and hopefully things work out.
Yeah, what book is that, dude?
So it's called The Chimp Paradox. So it was recommended to me by one of my friends who's a doctor, and he's been helping me a lot with, like kind of like the sports psychology aspect of competing, and so yeah.
Dang, The Chimp Paradox, dude. I'm gonna read it. It sounds interesting. Yeah, it reminds me of teaching that I would use about chimps, but it's about like breaking outside the box where it's like, yeah, they put some monkeys in a cage and there's a banana on a ramp. And when one of the monkeys goes up to grab the banana, they spray him down with cold water and then spray all the monkeys. And then the next one tries to think about it. Like first, obviously it's the alpha male that tries it. And then after he gets sprayed, one of the other ones is like, oh, well, maybe not me. So then he goes up there and they spray him with cold water and spray all the monkeys with cold water. And then what they'll do is then they'll take one of the monkeys out. So eventually all the monkeys, they quit going for the banana. They're like, okay, that's bad. But then they'll take one of the monkeys out and put a new monkey in. And that monkey's like, oh, okay, well, I'm gonna go grab that banana. And then the other monkeys will grab him and beat him up. And then what they do is they keep switching the monkeys out. And eventually what happens is all the monkeys are switched out with all new monkeys, but they're still doing the same thing where someone tries to go up the ramp, they just pull them down and beat them up. And the whole story is to be like, try to think outside the box. Or just because something's done a certain way before you get there doesn't mean that's the way it has to be. And you see that a lot in the Marine Corps where it's just like sometimes because you're forced to be there, you kind of fall out of love with it because you're forced and you're there all the time and it's your whole livelihood. And then when you do that, you tend to get complacent. And then you just tend to do like bad habits where you're on your phone and you're just like not doing anything, or you're not cleaning up like as you should. And when someone lower than you, so like in the Marine Corps, there's a hierarchical standard of like leadership. And so instead of here it's like they're higher belts, but you don't really have to listen to them if you don't want to. But the Marine Corps, you have to listen to them. So if you see someone that's doing something like they're just chilling, they're just on their phone, and they don't really care, it'll immediately like become what the young guys do. That's how they'll lead. They'll, I don't know if you've ever seen anybody, but like, like have bad habits when they teach, like be on their phone while they're teaching. It's like probably not the best thing to do, but if the person in charge does that, it'll literally just kind of like disseminate to the lower ones where it's like, oh no, it's totally kosher to be on Instagram and teach at the same time.
Yeah, that's weird.
So anyway, that chimp thing reminded me of that, but I definitely want to check that book out.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, man, what would you tell the young athletes or maybe the up and coming athletes what they could do?
For me, it's slightly different, right? Just because the part I most enjoy about jiu-jitsu is the competing. Like I enjoy the whole experience. Like I enjoy going there. Like I enjoy just waking up in the morning and like knowing today is the day I'm going to compete. I enjoy like going there, have my headphones on, being in that environment where everyone's like fighting, people are winning, people are losing. And I enjoy like, even if I win or lose, I just enjoy the actual experience of competing. Like I don't get nervous at all. And like, I just get super excited, super pumped up. So I think for me, the main thing is try and enjoy competing. If you want to compete, try and enjoy it as much as possible, right? Win, lose or draw, just try and go there with a positive mindset. Obviously, every time I go there, I think I'm going to win. I believe I'm the best, but I think you need to go there with like, no matter what happens today, I'm going to enjoy the day until maybe I lose and then I'm not going to enjoy it, but I'm going to enjoy it up until that moment. I think that's the most like important thing for me is just enjoying the actual experience itself.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, definitely for me is like, it just makes me feel like I'm at least getting close to doing something of worth, you know? It's like, I'd hate to go through this life and like, I didn't do anything to like deserve it, you know? So it's like, at least, obviously there's way more hardcore things to do than jujitsu, but I just try to tell myself it's like, uh, at least like my heart's racing. At least I tried to do something that felt like where I felt like I was going to die. I don't know. For me, I feel like I'm going to die every time I compete. I'm like, you know, my heart's like wants to beat out of my chest. You guys are probably more calm than me, but it's just
Not that one.
yeah,
Not that one.
Your heart goes crazy, super nervous. Me too.
You get
dude.
super nervous. Yeah, I don't. But like, but I think that comes from also just like I've been competing and doing like sports at like a tournament level, should I say, throughout my whole life. So it's been competing's been normal for me. It's like it's always been everything I've done. I've always wanted to be the best at when I've enjoyed it, and I'm like, I don't honestly, the validation I get from it, I find it very rewarding. Like when I won Trials, I had like a bunch of my friends in the back. Like everyone came to watch and support, and like them coming out, them flying out their own money just to be there and just to watch them, me winning, and like it's almost fulfilling their belief in me, right? Like my friend, basically one of my closest friends, Elliot, who brought me into jiu-jitsu and like brought me like to Apex where I train now. It's like he put that belief in me that he believed I could win these things. So when I do it, it's like a sense of validation that like he was right to believe me. Like I proved him right. Like that what makes me feel good about myself as well. And I prove other people right. When someone says, "Oh, I think Owen's going to win this," and I do, it's like it makes people's belief in me become true, right? Which I think it makes me feel better about myself and it makes me feel good.
Yeah, you didn't let him down. That's pretty sweet. Mikey Musumeci talks about that. He says that he doesn't like training with competitors because they take it too serious, and that his favorite people to train with are hobbyists because they love to be there. And yeah, you see that a lot with competitors where it's just like I've learned to not be this way, but I used to be this way. Where it's just like every day is like super serious. Like I'm here to kill people, and you know, like I didn't talk to a lot of people because I'm in my mind, I'm stretching, I'm warming up, and you know, training is very serious. And one of the main things that got me to come out of that was like, well, if you're always in that state, how are you supposed to get a following? Like essentially, I was just like, no one knows about you because you're in a dungeon somewhere training by yourself. And so I was like, no, these people want to see me succeed. I have to like open up more and quit being like, so take it all so serious. So that's how I learned from it. But yeah, Musumeci talks about that a lot as well.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with him to some degree. Like, I think it's a little bit of an overgeneralization because there are competitors that are super cool. Like, I definitely think, like, for example, like Owen on the mat, it's still fun. Like, I think learning to like understand it's not a big deal. Like, we're just like, it doesn't really matter what happens. Like, obviously, to some degree, like you need to make a living and so on and so on, but at the end of the day, we're just hugging people and trying to like choke each other. It's really not like something to be taken so seriously. Like there are people like, for example, like in the Marine Corps, I could understand if you took that more seriously. But jiu-jitsu, I mean, man, I feel like at the end of the day, we're all doing this because we enjoy it, and we should kind of keep it that way. If you kind of like stray too far away from that, it's like, why are you doing this anymore? So
yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, enjoying it, trusting the process.
Don't make enough money in jiu-jitsu to take it that serious.
absolutely not. We don't make any money.
If you really cared about it and you wanted like, and it was everything, then do something you're gonna make money in.
Yeah, for sure.
Like if you're doing jiu-jitsu, it should only be because you love jiu-jitsu. It shouldn't be because you're like, I want to win every round of the gym. I want to beat up Jozef. But when Jozef beats me up, I'm like, this is so funny. How he's just so much better than me. Like I find it funny. Like and then I watch Craig do what Jozef does to me. I'm like, bro, how is Craig so much better than Jozef? Like it's just so appealing. Like how everything could be so different, and like just enjoying even losing in the gym. It's like sometimes I find it funny when I lose a round. It's like that was jokes. Like if someone passed my guard with something stupid, I'm like, that's pretty funny, right? Or if I hit like Jozef with something completely dumb that shouldn't work, we're just gonna laugh. Joseph's not gonna go, oh, I shouldn't work and start trying really hard. He's just gonna start laughing, and then we're gonna be like, that was retarded, wasn't it? And then we're gonna keep training. I think that's a good part of enjoying jiu-jitsu as well.
Yeah, one of my buddies, I just posted it the other day. I posted it yesterday. And it was from that morning. I went to like wrestle up on him, and it worked the day before. So we see each other a lot, almost every morning. And the day before, I hit him with just a wrestle up from seat to guard, and it was just working for me. And I was like, oh yeah. Then the next day, I was like, I'm gonna do it to him again. And I went to do it, and he knew it was coming. So he like turned his body, put his hand on my neck, and like high stepped out, and then shoved my face to the mat. Like, I really, pow! And coach was recording, and I literally just had a smile on my face. I was just like, you motherfucker. All right, you got me.
Yeah.
And then I hit him with the same move. I did it again, like trying to pretend like I was gonna fall for the same thing. And he went to do it, and I just based and moved my head out. And I wrestled up on him, and we were just like got into this crazy scramble. But no, the whole having fun thing makes a lot of sense. I had my buddy, he said he's 168 now. He's getting thick, but no, I literally had his face like neck cranking him. I've pretty much given up going for rear naked chokes. I just go for face crushes now. And I had his whole neck turned, and I was squeezing him, and he was trying to squeeze my feet to get me to tap. And afterwards he's like, yeah, you almost had that neck crank. I was about to tap, and I was like, yeah, I was hoping you weren't going to break my foot. And we were both like just kind of giggling about it, you know?
But like even today, like I rode with Nicky Rod, and it's like, I can do absolutely nothing to this man in any course. Like no matter where we are, he's just so much better than me. Like I can start on his back, and he's still gonna sub me. But it's just so funny. It's like when he just passes my guard effortlessly, I'm like, this is absolutely jokes. How I do this full time, and he can just do whatever he wants to me. It's like it's so jokes that I'm just so useless against him. I find it funny. I'm like, this is why the weight categories are here for a reason. I'll never do absolute ADCC ever.
Yeah, absolute ADC. Yeah. No, I've experienced that too. I've done some absolute divisions, and when I'm in the absolute, I'm like, man, maybe I can get a small guy in the first round so I can get warmed up.
66er.
Yeah, and then I get at this last one, I think it was Chicago, I got a plus 99. And so then I was like, okay, well, hopefully he's fat and slow, and I can do my game. But one, they called me, for whatever reason, they hadn't decided to wait for the absolute just yet. So I literally had just finished my weight division. They were calling me across the mat, and he was already on the mat, like staring at me. He's like, oh, dude, go to him. And I'm like, oh shit. So I start running over there, and I get on the mats. He's got his shirt off, and he's got abs. So he's a weight division above me with abs. And I was just like, oh shit. So, okay, well, I'll see what I can do here. Maybe I can like snag a fast single. And I couldn't even grab him. He was like so strong and like so like jerky. Like I went to grab it, like make a wrist grab, and he just like clubbed my whole hand, and my fucking arm was hurt. And I was like, pull guard. And then he just like, just like pounced on me. All my muscles were crampling. It was like the end of the day. So he immediately took my back and then face crushed me, and then apologized 3 times for face crushing me. So then it was like even more hurt. I was like, how is he better than me and nicer than me? 'Cause I would not apologize for face crushing somebody. It's just part of the game. But he was just like, hey man, I'm so sorry for doing that. Are you okay? I didn't mean to face crush you. I was just trying to get the tap. I was like, dude, you already beat me. Like, you got me. I'm sorry. Don't apologize.
To be fair, this is one thing that I do not do. It's like people are super friendly on comp day. I'm not. like fundamentally, like if I meet you outside of it, or if we're training together, like I don't care. But like if I'm competing against you, even if we're friends, we're competing against each other. Like, this is serious. In the gym, it's all fun and games, but now I'm taking it serious. This is a game. You're my enemy until the 6 minutes are up. Like people go up to them, oh, nice to meet you. Yeah, good match before they fight, and I'm like, nah. Before we fight, we're about to fight. We're about to go and fight. You can do that after. If I smash you, or if you smash me, and you want to do all that after, that's okay. But before. I'm not for it. I'm not for the friendliness before.
That's funny. Well, shit. That's super comical.
But one of my favorite moments actually was at Trials. You see Jozef in the final after he beat Mateus. I think he beat Mateus, what, 3rd round?
Quarters in the quarters.
Yeah. And Mateus is sitting in the back watching Jozef in the final. And then Jozef almost gets his back taken by Taza. And Mateus in the back, he's like, oh no. It's like, it's good to see, at least like, even though he lost, he still wants Jozef to win, which is cute.
Yeah, I mean, I think like there are a few things. There's two things I want to say in regards to like the people you train with. The reason I feel like we can kind of have fun even if you get fucked up is like because you like the people you train with, right? Like I think it's important to kind of like the people you train with. If you don't like them just as a person, it's gonna be a lot, let's say, less. It's not gonna be as fun or as friendly of an environment. Like if you view the person you're training with as your opponent, like even in the gym, I feel like that's kind of a red flag in that sense. Because like if my friend like does something on me, so like if they hit something on me, like obviously I don't want them to continue hitting it, but I'm also like I'm not like, oh fuck this guy. I want them to get better because I care for them. I like them. Like if they're getting better, it's good for me, and it makes me happy because like I said, I want them to get better. And then in regards to um like with your own competitors, so like I feel like it's at least for me in my experience, like coming up in a gym, mostly hobbyists, it's like it's hard to like for you to relate to some people, especially like let's say they have a full-time job and so on and so on, and they haven't necessarily done the same things you have or walked the same path as you. I feel like a lot of the times the people you can relate to the most are your competitors. So like people like for like Mateus, Tommy, Taza, it's like obviously there's a certain degree of like competitiveness, but also like a mutual understanding that we're all kind of in the same boat. Like or we've all chosen this same path. It's like I feel like there's I don't know, a niceness to it that I really enjoy. Like afterwards everyone's like maybe not immediately after, but everyone's like fairly nice and like you can kind of really understand each other. I think there's something to that.
Yeah. To me, it seems like the closest thing that we can get to of like what makes a man, you know, is like one, we're essentially 21st century warriors, right? And you know, what's more manly or, you know, more satisfying, I guess, than competing with other savages and then at the end like getting some food and just chilling. It's like, you know, because competing itself can be super depressing if you're by yourself. You're by yourself and then you got to make the drive home and there's no one to talk to. It's like depressing. But if you compete alongside your teammates or your friends, and then afterwards you go get a meal, like almost every time, the best part for me is the meal afterwards. It's like sitting with other guys who I know are just absolute monsters. And either, you know, whether I competed against them or not, it's like at the end of the day, we're just like, okay, today was awesome. This happened, like telling stories about our matches.
Yeah, I feel like also because if I'm there with a bunch of my friends, it's either we all lost, then we can all last because we all lost. There's 6 of us, we've all lost. Or one of us won, so now we can all celebrate the fact that one of us has won. So either way, it's a win-win. So if we're at the end and we've all lost, we could all look at each other and go, we're a bunch of losers. Or we can look at each other and go, this guy's sick. And like either way, you can make fun of the day, right? I think that's a good way to look at it as well.
100%. Well, man, we're getting eat up by bugs back here. And I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know y'all still probably going to train tonight and do all kinds of stuff. So I just want to say, man, I really appreciate y'all coming on this podcast. It's a big accomplishment for me to have 2 trials winners as podcast guests. With every awesome guest I get more fearless to ask someone, you know, because it's like it's a daunting task to do these things where it's like, you know, who am I and am I even worthy? Like this person has no time for me. But when I get guys like you on, I'm like, man, I can ask anybody I want. And, so thank you guys so much for coming on.
Appreciate it.
You guys have been great. And I hope to learn from you guys. Maybe we can do a private sometime. I guess y'all are leaving soon.
Yeah, I'm leaving Sunday. He'll be here for a little bit longer, but yeah, Sunday.
Well, I know you guys will be back, right? Because you guys are do ADCC camps here. And
For sure.
yeah, man, when you guys are back, let me know. I appreciate y'all. Catch y'all around.
Likewise.
See you guys.